Hello and welcome to Mad Dog Hobby, just a guy enjoying the hobby the only way I know how, simply with coffee and a steep learning curve. It's been a while, I know, life has moved on, so have I, not dead or anything, but to a new apartment with a better backdrop, better lighting, hopefully, well, at least better than the lightless hobby cave I was recording in previously. Hopefully something more sleek, more sexy, more professional even. Let me know in the comments down below.
Rough.
Today we're fusing the Battleclade kill team with the starch undead of Poxwalkers. Flesh meets machine, heresy meets hardware, the Dark Mechanicum not maintaining machines but instead corrupts them, enhances them with demon, disease and unrestrained innovation. Is it Dark Mechanicum or Mechanicus in 40k? I can never quite remember, but either way the Omnissiah is no longer watching.
I'm going to start with the gun servitors because they look the most fun. This particular Poxwalker looks like a good candidate because its arms and legs look like they are in the appropriate position. So I start by cutting them off. First the arm. I cut a little piece away each time to make sure I'm not damaging the model or cutting away too much. Afterwards I make sure to clean the affected areas up with my knife. I need a flatter surface to pin the power pack to its back, so I cut away this little cyst. I also want to pin the heavy arc rifle to whatever remains of the arm in such a way so the power cables from the gun to the power pack align. Using a 1.5mm bit, I drill a hole through the side of the plate used to mount the heavy arc rifle to the regular servitor. I use the hobby knife to neaten up the hole before gluing the parts together. Now I try to neaten up the arm to make the rebuilding process a little easier for later, and then drill another 1.5mm hole so I can stick the two parts together. I also drill a hole into its back so I can pin the power pack. Lining up the power cables on the arc rifle and the power pack took a bit of patience, lots of cutting and measuring until I found a position where the cables would align. I glue the 1.5mm brass rod into place using this super thick super glue called Cyano, which I bought on a whim. I bought it because I didn't recognise any of the other options available to me at the time, and I must say it's the best glue ever. Dries fast and strong, so strong that I can't make any mistakes with it because once the glue is dry I will likely destroy whatever piece of model I'm trying to remove. Next, to make the model more visually servitor, I remove the bionic feet of the official servitor so I can stick them on my Poxwalker. I also removed the feet of the Poxwalker first with my knife, but found the plastic to be quite dense, so I switched to my clippers. I then proceed to cut down the parts until they look to be in the right position. This took a bit of trial and error to align the correct angle of the legs with the feet, switching between tools and double checking the fit by dry fitting the model together. The 1.5mm brass rod seems a little thick to pin the legs, so I reach for the green stuff. I cut off equalish parts of green and blue using a piece of wet palette paper as a clean surface. I forget the water, it sticks to everything. A lesson learned too late, but no real drama. I then cut away the middle part of the putty where the two parts are touching because this has already started to cure and will make the putty lumpy if not removed. Once I have a consistent green colour, I roll little bits into sausages, cutting away what I need and wrapping it around the arm of the servitor to fill in the gaps between the arm and the arc rifle. I use a moistened toothpick to get it into place and then switch between various silicone tools to squeege it down into place. It doesn't need to be perfect, just good enough to fill the gaps. I do the same with the power pack, using the green stuff to blend together the parts so we can't tell where the equipment ends and the putrid flesh begins. I don't need to do too much to rebuild the arm apart from the latissimus dorsi, apparently. It doesn't need to be too perfect because, let's face it, Nurgle followers don't have perfectly chiseled body proportions. Perhaps Slaanesh followers do, but certainly not Nurgle. I roll up a ball and apply it to under the arm and resculpt the latissimus dorsi and just work it into a shape that looks natural. To finish off, I place a very small ball on top and I use a toothpick to work a little hole into it to create a cyst and smooth it out with my silicone tools for texture, disease, identity. To secure the legs into place, I roll up some tiny orbs of green stuff and squeeze them onto the lower parts of the legs to make sure I get the right amount. I then take them off and apply a little super glue, stick them back down, quickly apply more super glue before finally securing the legs into place. I don't know the exact science behind it, but applying super glue to green stuff makes a solid bond which does dry very quickly, so it's good form to move fast here. To build the legs back up, I'm using more sausage, more sculpting, wrapping one around the joint of the leg to hide the gap and rebuild the calf muscle that should still be there. This essentially resulted in a calf-shaped lump, so To add a bit of detail, I took my toothpick and pressed loads of little dents over the surface to create a scabby, Nurgle infected texture. I then filled in the gaps nice and easily on the other leg, not needing to resculpt any muscles here. For the finishing touch, I glued the two halves of the heavy arc rifle together and just simply fixed it into place. And the end result is this guy here. For the next gun servitor, I thought this Poxwalker chassis would do the trick, so I removed the left hand and the right arm. This Poxwalker bears a horn, a detail I want to keep, which means I need to cut the arm away with the view of having to pin the heavy bolter a little further away than the first gun servitor. In the same way as the first, I drill a hole in the shoulder mounting plate ready to pin it to the arm. Next, I drill a corresponding hole into the shoulder and again neatening up the back, so I can also drill a final hole to fix the power pack to. I then superglue everything together with the brass rod, making sure the power cables connecting the heavy bolter to the power pack align. I want to stick an augmetic claw to the left hand I removed earlier, so I cut the claw off the servitor arm again, leaving enough space in between the part I want to keep and where I snip, just to make sure not to damage the part I want to keep, trimming away the excess with my knife and straightening out the connection point. Before I glue the rest of the model together, however, I want to sort the green stuff out. I do fill in the gaps between the power pack and the back of the model, but it's the rebuilding of the arm that I want to focus on here. One thing I learned from sculpting my Demonogrim for my Bloody Kill team is that, for me, it's best to break down the sculpt into constituent muscles and sculpt each one separately, so that's what I try here. Before I can rebuild the muscles, I wrap another sausage around the arm to fill in the gaps again between the heavy bolter and the arm. I do the same for the shoulder to try and bring some definition and girth back to the arm. Next, I cut two small bits from a larger sausage to create a tricep and bicep. I'm using my silicone tools for this, and I'm just trying to create the rough shape because I lack the imagination to create believable shapes. Perhaps for the future I should try some research or at least find a picture for reference, but for now I will just use a toothpick to jab into the putty to create a bit of definition between the tricep and bicep. It's crude, but so is Nurgle. With my theory, ability, or both well and truly out the window at this point, I try to hide some of my sins by again jabbing in the toothpick to create a scabby texture to the skin like I did with the legs on the first gun servitor. This does, however, destroy what detail I had created, so I try to work it back in as best I can. Now all I need to do is glue the heavy bolter, augmetic claw and head into place, and another one is reborn. Next up on the chopping block is the Techno Medic, and this one amuses me, a zombie surgeon. The base is a Poxwalker wearing what looks like a coat, a doctor's coat if you squint. Perfect. So I start by cutting off the left hand tentacle ready for the replacement, drilling a hole in its back for the power pack, but also cutting the right arm down a little so I can put on the arm holding the medkit. I snip and clean the bits after I've measured the length and find the fit is wrong, the angle off. The only thing for it is to pin it into place, and luckily there is enough room in the plastic this time for that. After I've fixed the power pack into place, I drill a 1.5mm hole in each side, which I can insert a bit of paper clip bent into a curved shape. I glue the paper clip into the shoulder first, using the arm as the glue dries to get the angle I need. Once this is dry, I simply superglue the arm on, filling the gap with more superglue, so I can later add some green stuff to make the transition more subtle. Whilst this is drying, I glue the servo chirurgic claw onto the other arm. Once dry, I clean up the joint and wrap yet another sausage around the arm, and at this point I think I'm packing more sausages than a butcher, but anyway, I flatten it all out with my silicone tools. I'm not looking just to fill gaps, but to sculpt a torn sleeve, jagged edges, Halloween style, stylized decay. Finally, it was just a case of gluing the head, the saw and needle hydraulic arms onto the power pack, and to finish the model, stick it to its base. Next up is the Breacher Servitive, and this one was really easy. I chose the Poxwalker with the bionic arm, clipping away most of it along with the other arm, clean with my knife, and then trim down the servitor arms so that they are ready to attach. This time I can't find a way to make the power cables line up from the power pack, so I remove them. No ceremony, no pity. After pinning the power pack on the same way as the previous models, I attach the arms, head and hydraulic arm, and that's it, ready to go. Next is the Auto Proxy Servitor, and for this one I want to try and blur the blend between Poxwalker and Servitor a little more, less of a transplant, more of a mutation. I start by trimming the bits off the model, like the hand holding the mallet, this tentacle poking out of the shoulder, but also the left hand on the other part. I'm not going to use a power pack on this one, so I remove the useless cables before cutting the arm away from the taser goad. But I still want to use the aerial of the power pack sticking out of his back, so I drill a hole and cut off the antenna. Then it's just a case of trimming all the arms down so I can attach them, starting with the right bionic hand, the taser goad, which looks pretty cool stretched out to cattle prod one of his comrades into action, but also the antenna, then sticking it to its base, then finally mounting the hydraulic camera, or whatever it is, to the tentacle I trimmed down. What it sees, I can only imagine. For the final subject, it's time to tackle a combat servitor, and I'm only going to show how I converted the one because I think this video is getting pretty repetitive now. I start by carefully removing all the parts from the model that I don't need. Again, in the places where I think there is risk of stressing the plastic or damaging the parts that I think I will need, I make sure to use little cuts working from the outside in. I use my knife then to clean up and smooth down all the affected areas of trimming, and then cut down the servitor arms ready to attach onto the poxwalker, also smoothing out the connection points. Then it's just a case of attaching them. I've chosen to build the melter here because melter is truth, but I have also chosen to go for the Incendiine igniters for the other two combat servitors because I thought the team needed some reliable shooting, and hitting on twos will certainly provide that. Plus, zombies with flamers just seems poetic to me. And here we have them all together. I'm pretty happy with them. We certainly have an underrepresentation of the Dark Mechanicus in 40k in general. I remember Valrak saying he's heard some whispers of Dark Mech coming in the future, but until then, I'm pretty happy with this lot. I think the Techno-Medic and the Gun Servitors are my favourite, and I know what you are all thinking. What about the Techno-Archaeologist and the Underseer? Well, to be frank, other than sticking a few chaos spikes on them, I don't have a lot of ideas on how to convert them, so I left them out. Additionally, I kind of want to save my money for Kill Team Tomb World, due to be released soon. I just gotta get my hands on those Deathwatch and new Killzone.
And there we have it. If you like weird conversions, incomplete kill teams, and chaotic hobby projects, hit like and subscribe now. More Mad Dog Hobby coming soon. Ciao.